This last session is a review. We've done all this stuff, and now we're going to look at it again. Look at what you have to do and in what order. A lot of people reading my book say, "Oh God, do I have to know all this stuff to be an animator?" And the answer is, you don't. Some animators have one or two things they're really good at. But if you want to have the whole picture and be able to tackle anything, then you do need to know all this stuff. That's what I got from the old guys. If you digest all this material, you can do anything. There's no easier way to do something than to understand it. We'll do a review of the whole process now. Review. We've got the storyboard. And probably the rough designs, isn't it? Designs, they've probably got something designed. These, I'll put question mark. It could be very crude, the storyboard. And then we shoot a Leica reel or an animatic. Disney's, they called it the Leica reel because they used a Leica camera, or animatic, which is the storyboard shot with sound in time. So if you got a 30-second sequence, you're shooting all these little pictures, and you can see, and you get that, so it reads, so you feel comfortable with it, right? Then the animator gets it and starts doing planning drawings. Usually small thumbnails. Then we do our key positions, which are the only drawings that are circled. And they are really the same drawings as this and this and this, isn't it? Although we may be even working out extreme positions in here. Okay, these are the same things. We're working out, and we do good. These are the big drawings, Your key positions of your maquette, the main thing that tells the story. Then we put in the extreme drawings. These key positions are drawings that have to be there to tell a story, right? Have to be there. Then the extreme drawings, like the contact of the feet, any drawings that have to be there in order to get the guy over, right? Any other drawings that have to be there. Any other drawings that have to be there. Usually contact drawings. Then we put in the passing positions. Which are the halfway points between the step, if it's a step. The passing position would be the one in the middle. And then we've got our structure. And of course, we're testing it at each point. We test this. Let me just write it. Test it on the camera. Well, the first time we test the storyboard, it's tested there, the Leica reel. We don't test that one, but we test this, test the keys, we test the extremes, and we test the passing positions, making sure we got them really nice. We've now got our nice, strong structure. And then we're going to go into animator land, having got the sense of the scene. Everything reads, the director can see it, you can see it, your grandmother can see it, it's all clear. Then we go in and go in straight ahead, do several straight ahead runs. Ahead runs. First, the most important thing, the primary thing. The secondary thing. The tertiary thing. And the fourth thing. Any other bits. Like drapery, hair, tails, fat, breasts, bottoms, okay? And that's our method. And working light. And then you pull it all together in the end. So you get the combination of the spontaneous. This is spontaneous. This is all planning. This is planning, careful planning. And this is spontaneous runs. So we get the flow from the spontaneous thing, and we get the structure from the planning. And if this sounds too cold-blooded, it is. Because if you take the most emotional animator, everybody says, that could handle the most emotion, the most successfully ever, was Vladimir Titla, Bill Titla, who did Stromboli, isn't it? Night on Bomb Mountain, The Great God, and the tiny little Dumbo having a bath, and Dumbo going to see his mother, that wonderful sequence where the mother's locked up and the baby elephant's outside and they sing Baby Mine or Don't You Cry and all this stuff, which brought audiences to tears. He could handle anything, and he was this emotional Russian. Frank Thomas said he would terrify him when he was doing Pinocchio. Frank was animating Pinocchio and Titla was animating Stromboli, the puppet master, and Frank said Titla would sort of grow in size twice, expand to twice his normal height, and then drive Frank in the corner of the drawing room and say, "I am going to put you in the face of the public," or what, push you in the public eye, and Frank would be, "Lay off, Bill," and Bill would be thumping him and banging him, and so Bill Titla, I never met him, unfortunately, but apparently everybody says he was this tremendously emotional Russian, you know, from the Cossacks. His family were Cossacks, and it's Russian. And he spent days, according to Grim Natwick, just sitting there doing tiny little planning drawings. He said Titla was Grim said that Titla was the most careful planner, patiently careful planner he'd ever seen. So here's this guy who's going to do an emotional eruption of animation, either big or small, or wonderful. And he figured it all out in these little drawings. And then he'd go into the bigger drawings, and the stuff would just come out.
We've seen the procedure for making the soup.
and we've got it in the correct order. Now, we'll list the ingredients illustrated with examples from previous sessions. We are using, to do this, we are using good keys, I would put. Good keys, okay? To get, so for clarity, here are the key positions for the rabbit in our logo. We are using weight to give our characters weight. We know how to do that. To get flexibility, we're using overlapping action. Overlapping action is where one thing follows another, one thing at a time. Actions unfold. And to get flexibility, we're using successive breaking of joints. By successively breaking the joints, we can get all the flexibility we'll ever need. Accents. Body. Head, hands, feet. Accents give vitality to your action.
Hi.
Baseball.
And anticipating an action or accent gives strength and vitality. We're using stagger exposures. Stagger exposures, or vibrates, are another trick in our toolbox. We're using compression and distension, which is my fancy way of saying squash and stretch, because I hate to think of those squishy drawings. Squashing and stretching used broadly or subtly adds life and gives us more change. We're using different walks and runs. We're stressing the difference, we are the difference between things and people. No two people in the world walk the same. We build walks using the tempo, the contacts and passing positions, the downs and the ups, squashing and stretching, and broken joints. And all of this applies to animals as well. For dialogue, we're progressing it somewhere.
Hello.
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 Hello. I'm going to give you the elixir.
Using these things broadly or very subtly. Here's a complex piece of animation that brings together a lot of the things that we've been talking about. We'll show it first in slow motion and break it down so that we can see how many of these devices we've been using. Start with a hand accent. A big wind-up anticipation using breaking joints. Delay the head briefly. Another anticipation using a stagger vibration followed by elongated in-betweens. Then a run on fours. Squash down to anticipate the jump into an old-fashioned glide on twos. We'll invent an impossible 360-degree head revolve. Back to ones, delay the head. She skips. With hair and flapping bits added later. Then she jumps, a squash down to anticipate her leap. And she goes out using at least 5 drawings to leave the screen. So this is the sort of review of 60 years of how long this has been going on, from the 20s till now. 80 years of information, and I just stress this method of working, I think, and of course you test it. My goodness, I'm here as an authority, but I mean, I have big problems with authority. If I'm wrong on all this stuff, and there may be things that are not quite right, test them, isn't it? Williams is wrong. But these are the things that I've found in 30 to 40, was it 40 years? It's been 40 years to be true and reliable. And you're on the firing line, and as you get this stuff into the bloodstream, so it's coagulated, and it'll drop in as you go, you know, or a year from now, a lot of this stuff, as it certainly happened with me, it seemed an awful mouthful at the time, or head full, and then the stuff would just gradually click into place. And there really isn't any more. That's all I know. The rest is the 100th trick. The rest is talent. And one of the last class we did in New York, a woman came up to me and said, "Well, that was marvelous. This thing is terrific. And would you now do another class where you really do the sophisticated things? You know, like," and I said, "There isn't any more. That's it. I don't know anymore. I mean, some more details, some more examples, but that's it. That was it." And she said, "Oh, well, then you better give us a class to show us how to put it all together." And I said, "No, you put it all together. That's your job. Here's the elements. Here's all the things you're going to put in the stew. Put them in your stew. And stew them your way. And if you don't like them, take them out. But this is the best This is the stuff that I know, and that's all of it. And so, thank you very much.